Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here today. We're taking a look at ADA, just Cardano, and this is again your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among other things. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, this is for educational purposes only. I always recommend you do your own research. Just know I have years of trading experience and I want to make sure that you are profitable and more importantly, become a responsible trader. So there's a lot of good best practice here. We're going to try to find a good entry point for you as well. Furthermore, I'm not a financial advisor, of course. Please bear that in mind. I have to say that numerous times just to make sure you understand it. Also, there's a link to my Patreon account down below if you'd like to show your support. I have a Telegram community as well that's growing rapidly. And also $25 in Bitcoin if you'd like to reference that too from Voyager. Just download and install the application, fund $100, you get 25. Not all bad. Either way, enough about that. Let's go ahead and check out the technical analysis. Let's get to it. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look at ADA, which is Cardano. And what we're going to do first is look at Bitcoin and Ethereum to get a baseline on the market, just overall see what's going on to ensure we see if there's any correlation between the two, but most importantly, just understand the overall sentiment. So we do start with Bitcoin and Ethereum first. And what we do is we take a look at the 4-hour chart. So this is Bitcoin, 4-hour chart. I've already got all of my support and resistance levels up. These are from before. There is a support level down here as well at approximately 47,700. I'll mark that now just so we know, but we should be in pretty good shape as long as Bitcoin continues to consolidate, because as we've seen in the past, Bitcoin has a tendency of consolidating and ramping back up, so we're really hoping to see a big increase in price, but there's a little bit of indecision based on the recent news for Tesla not allowing Bitcoin for purchasing. So that's kind of the case there, but that is the support level there. We've got 3 major resistance levels now that we need to pass in order for Bitcoin to increase up over, just say, 60,000. There is a strong support at this point, resistance level of 53,300. That was a previous support. 57,000 as well as 59,500. So a lot of work to be done here for Bitcoin because it's under all 3 moving averages and 3 resistance levels. So essentially, we're going to be in interesting shape here soon once the price increases, but again, a lot of room for growth, I guess you could say. But we'll see what happens there. We'll keep a close eye on Bitcoin, but nothing abnormal right now. It's just kind of hovering around 49 to 50,000 for the moment. Ethereum. This is Ethereum. Now, Ethereum hasn't bounced back as well as it usually does, likely because it's considerably overextended. As you can see on the 4-hour chart, RSI was pretty high for a little while, so it does make sense to me as to why we see this kind of calm. Plus ADA, which the reason why we're here, is taking up all of the investing rights. I've mentioned, I guess, that ADA has increased significantly in its capital. But if you look here at Ethereum, typically Ethereum in the past recovers quite quickly when Bitcoin has a state of indecision, because a lot of times when Bitcoin sells off, people migrate over to Ethereum. I'm speculating now that the people that usually go over to Ethereum are now in ADA, and Cardano has taken up all those gains, which is fantastic for those of us who have been holding these positions for a while, right? Hopefully you got in $1.20, $30, $40 range, but right now we're doing pretty good. But suffice to say, the price is kind of staying consistent with the 50-day moving average. So this isn't bad news, this is actually really good. So the 50-day moving average is essentially working as a support level, and it's right at about, we're at about 3,900 is a round number right now for the 50-day moving average. Slight variance, but it is still kind of holding. Okay, just keep in mind Bitcoin sold off majorly right here. That is the main reason why we saw a lot of momentum shift in Ethereum. Okay. Now, as for ADA, here's kind of what we're looking at here. And what we'll do is we'll look at the 1-day chart first, work our way down. And as we can see, first of all the moving averages are working as support levels, minus the recent sell-off here that dipped down below and touched the 100-day moving average. We're looking in really good shape here for ADA. There's a strong momentous trend right now, a bullish trend. Now it's slightly overextended because it moved up really quick in a short amount of time, but this is just, it's deserved, if you will, or it's kind of makes sense because ADA's been in this state of consolidation. I mean, it worked itself into this channel for almost a full month and a half, 2 months. So it makes sense as to why it broke out, because it gave time for the moving averages to catch up. And that's actually a good sign. It means that we will likely continue to see some growth, but we may see a short period of consolidation here in the near future, which isn't bad. We want to see that because when prices increase too fast, too quickly, bull runs can quickly become bear runs if there's no time for the price to calm down and relax, right? I talked about this all the time in my videos, and the fact that every time you see a price increase really super fast, it's gonna correct itself at least 50% of the way down. Now, as we can see here, this increase, there's been 3 days of solid increase, and it's only retraced itself a little bit so far. I'd venture to guess that this is not over. The bull run will continue, especially considering the momentum shift from Bitcoin and Ethereum over to ADA. So I think we're in pretty good shape. I don't feel like there's any terrible entry point right now, because I do feel like ADA is here to stay. They got a very good fundamentals, if you will. If you have a chance to look at that, do your research, of course. They are a very, very good company to invest in. They have very good long-term growth, and they're very good competition in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Okay, so just something to be mindful of. But that is the one-day chart. We'll go down to the 4-hour, 15-minute, and the 1-minute chart to kind of identify. But just to note on the RSI, the RSI is over 70 right now, which makes sense considering the recent spike in the last 2 or 3 days. And of course, the moving average is extremely high. So normal stuff you see on the one-day chart. Again, I don't put a ton of weight into these these indicators on the one-day chart. It just gives me a big picture of, okay, this is really what's going on. So when we look at a closer time frame, we understand the overall price movement. It's really important to do that. Another reason why I look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first too, to understand how those markets are trending, because we can figure out what that looks like. Okay, so just again, something to be mindful of. And what's also cool too, if you look here, because Bitcoin sold off on the 12th, right around the 12th, midday on the 12th here, Pacific Standard Time. So we look at the 12th on this chart here. It's this guy right here. Look at what happened to ADA the same day Bitcoin sold off. Look at that. Super huge increase. I mean, what that increase is, let's see, that would be, excuse me 1 second. That increase is 30%. So we saw 30% growth on ADA the same day that Bitcoin lost maybe 15 to 20%. I don't know if that tells you anything or not, but that is a pretty strong indication of the momentum that ADA has right now. And I'm venturing to guess, again, it's going to calm down a little bit, perhaps consolidate over the next couple days, maybe a day or two, but it will likely continue to increase on this bull run. And we'll see if we can identify other patterns, but generally speaking, you can see these, since here, we can see higher highs and higher lows. Now, it's easier to identify higher highs and higher lows in the 4-hour chart and or the 15-minute chart. But generally speaking, if you see higher highs and higher lows on a one-day chart, and just say that's roughly a 3-week pattern, we're looking very good. It's very consistent growth. Okay, so that to me is very positive and very awesome. I'm currently bullish on the ADA personally, just because I've kept an eye on it for a while, and it's got really good fundamentals. Again, do your own research. So take a look here. This is a 4-hour chart. First to note, the 50-day moving average is working as a support. Same with the other 2 moving averages, but they haven't been tested yet. So this tells me too, as well, this is a good bullish momentum, because it was tested and rejected here. But again, that was the 12th. This is when Bitcoin sold off, right? But look at how hard it ramped up. Like, it came back with a vengeance, because people that are investing in this know that the average price is essentially supposed to be much higher than it is. It's been held down for too long. Again, that was a state of indecision for Bitcoin for the last few weeks. But now that Bitcoin has recovered and essentially gotten in better, or not better shape, but it's consolidated, this has increased significantly. So usually you see this kind of pattern on Ethereum, but instead it seems to be ADA is reacting and responding to that retracement by Bitcoin. And nobody seems to be going over to Ethereum right now. They are just kind of hanging tight and possibly investing in ADA. So I'm speculating that ADA is a new Ethereum in that sense, as far as when Bitcoin does poorly, they transition over to another coin that's second or third largest, essentially. It has probably a very large market cap. I haven't looked recently, but I'm sure it's much higher now in the last few days. That being said, if you look at this here, strong volume too, this is a really good sign. So you can say the bears are in complete control here, as well as the fact that the RSI is a little overextended. It's not terrible, but if you can see here where it peaked out right here, it retraced back down a little bit. So it's pretty normal for the RSI to go over 70 and to retrace itself. On bull runs, it's a very minor retracement, which is what we just saw. So that does tell me and gives me an indication that we're going to likely continue to see an uptrend in ADA over the next few days. So I would predict essentially that ADA will be in the range of $3 within a couple months, just based on this projection alone, just current growth, the way that's going right now, we should expect to see this continue to get somewhere fast. But what we're hoping for is not for the price to jump up again as quick as it did recently and just say peak up over the RSI 70. What we want to do is see consistent growth with short periods of consolidation. So as you can see here, look at the 4-hour chart. This is good here, this little growth here, up and then out, up and then out. But with it going up like this and not having much of a retracement, we want to see a short period of consolidation. I'd feel more comfortable with just say 24 to 48 hours consolidation. That way the price can do another ramp up and to let the RSI calm down. And if you're new to the channel, RSI is the relative strength index. It kind of just tells you if something's considered overbought or oversold. Right now the overall sentiment is that ADA is overbought. So there might be a sell-off and a retracement. Anytime the RSI comes up over 70, there's commonly some type of consolidation, if nothing else, and or a decrease, because when it continues to increase, it's just kind of, it's that rule of what goes up must come down. It has to come back down. It goes up too hard, it comes down really hard too. So if we just see a nice smooth progression, I think we'll be in really good shape here. So just keep that in mind. Again, this is a 4-hour chart. The MACD also looks good too. It implies that there is significant bullish momentum. So all indicators currently signify a bullish trend right now. Okay. Now 15-minute chart, let's see if we can identify what's really going on. And I like this. This is actually really good because you can see in the last 2 days here, this is roughly 2 days ago, we had that massive increase here, consolidation, and then ever since then, higher highs, short period of consolidation with higher lows. So we're in really good shape. We're seeing this kind of angle up pattern essentially. So again, it's pretty likely for that to continue. This is definitely a bull run. I'd love it if this continued for quite a while, kind of like what BNB and Ethereum Classic did, just not increasing so much so fast that we get to our end goal of $3, $4, $5 without a significant retracement, right? And I think we're in pretty good shape because the fact that Bitcoin is still doing poorly, if you will, just kind of averaging around 49 to 50 when ADA is consistently going up. We usually see this behavior from Ethereum, so I really like to see this in ADA. It serves to be a very big benefit, very positive influence. But just a note here too, just so you can kind of see what it's referring to with the RSI. When the relative strength index comes up over 70, that's this little guy here, you can see the retracement that occurred. It's not major because again, on a bull run, you'll see more of a consolidation instead of a retracement. And that's what happened here. So it comes up, barely came down, RSI calms down a little bit, and that's what the consolidation is. It's kind of averaging out its price. It's finding its average true range. And then once we have this next little bull run right here, which was, how long ago was that? That was only about 4 hours ago. It went up another 10%, which is big considering it's gone up already that amount in the past 12 hours. So we're looking pretty good there. So we got that little increase, and then what happens, again, see, it peaks up over 70, right? RSI. And it comes down and it retraces. So what we're hoping for is for this retracement not to be too significant, for it just to continue kind of in the consolidation pattern here. We want it to do what we see here. We want it to do this again, right here. We want it to go right here and consolidate, and then work its way up and kind of keep doing a little staircase, if you will, where it goes up and over. That's the best kind of bull run that you can have. That isn't super exaggerated, that just kind of disappears eventually, because so many times you'll see a bull run jump up 100%, right, and then it drops off 50% after. Nobody likes that. That's a concerning feeling, but a really good bull run is one that increases 10%, goes level for a little while, goes sideways essentially, up, sideways, up, sideways. That's what you want to see. So that's my hope here for ADA. Will it happen? Hard to say, but it does have all the right indicators. All these indicators are telling me that we're going to see a continuous trend because, again, it's broken away from Bitcoin. It doesn't really care what Bitcoin is doing right now. Obviously, Bitcoin sells off again. We will see somewhat of a dip, but there's a good chance that the price being where it needs to be, which is higher, the price will recover and bounce off quickly. So if Bitcoin does dip again, I'd recommend buying the dip and essentially putting your money into ADA because this is a very good coin. It's gonna do big things. And then why don't we just go ahead and mark this here? This is a potential support level. So we see here we got what, $2.20. That is the current support level. So the price does come down. I would recommend you wait to essentially take entry to make sure that we see the support level hold. If it does hold and it bounces off, then that would be a good consideration for entry. And my common rule of thumb, if you're new to the channel, is to wait for the support line to be tested and to wait 30 minutes before taking entry. And I don't just mean just waiting 30 minutes and jumping in willy-nilly. I'm talking about waiting 30 minutes to get 2 solid green bars. And what I mean by that is that's my form of confirmation on a short-term swing trade. So if you're swing trading for 1 to 30 days, then you want to wait. You want to have a 30-minute confirmation because it really helps you with the long-term investment. In other words, 2 solid 15-minute green bars would be. This is an example of 2 solid 15-minute green bars right here. You can also see it, right here. But again, you're not investing and you're not trying to buy the dip, right? So just say you tried to buy the dip right here and it didn't go up, you could have lost out, right? Again, it's easier said than done at this point. That's a poor example because it continued upwards. That actually would have been a good entry point. But that's what I'm referring to as far as a good entry, is to wait for confirmation to ensure the price is moving in the direction you're trying to invest in. Obviously, if you're shorting, you would do the inverse. You'd look for 2 solid red bars. Okay. And that would be below a resistance level. But if this support level holds, say it comes down and bounces off, then we want to see what that looks like. Next thing we want to look at too, let me go ahead and remove this because the 50, 100, and 200-day moving averages, those are just simple moving averages. They don't really work on the shorter time frame, in my opinion. They're not very effective. I only like to use them on the 4-hour and the 1-hour chart. But if we look at the VWAP and the EMA line on the 15-minute chart, this is where the really important stuff comes into play. In other words, if you're not familiar with the volume weighted average price, that's this blue line here, and that is the volume of the last 24 hours averaged as a price. So in other words, right now, and again, it gets a little funny because the price, the VWAP just jumped up because every 24 hours it kind of has to reset itself. Right now, the VWAP is telling us that the price should be right around $2.38, which is roughly where the price is at right now. But generally speaking, it works as a consistent support level, right? So we see here, it comes through down here, it was rejected and it basically worked as a resistance, and it bounced up and over and continued to work as a support. It has ever since yesterday. So it's been on a 24-hour run essentially above VWAP. So you use that as essentially a consistent support level and or resistance, of course this is on the inverse, but that is a support level that is also synonymous with just say a previous all-time high. Like this previous all-time high of $2.20 roughly is likely going to be a very strong support when this price comes down. So if the price does come down and bounce, then we're going to be looking in good shape. Just don't take entry until you see something like this, where you see these 2 solid green bars above either VWAP or EMA. To touch on EMA, if you're not already familiar, EMA is an exponential moving average. I use the 15. A lot of defaults on exchanges will use 9 and 20. I think that's too much noise. I split the difference and use the halfway point, and it works very well for me. In other words, if you see this here, see how it bounced off of the EMA line and continued upwards? That tells you the momentum is still bullish. Okay, but right now we're losing EMA, so with the price being under EMA, if this closes out under EMA, then it's likely that it could continue to be bearish and continue downwards, which is why we wait for the support level to be tested before taking entry. Okay, but furthermore, you wait for the price to be above the EMA line before you take entry. And in this scenario here, if you're waiting for 2 solid green bars on the 15-minute chart, you wait for them to look just like this. It has to close above the EMA line. Okay, so for example, these 2 right here are not good examples of confirmation because the first one closed under the EMA line. Okay, again, this is just something that I use and that works well for me. Use your own philosophy, use your own strategy, of course, but that is the confirmation that I look for, and I'm more of a conservative trader, so a lot of people will say, okay, yeah, what if the price bounces up and I miss out on that price action? That'll happen a lot. It does. But if you're on a short-term swing trade and you're going to only be holding for just say under 30 days or longer than a 24-hour period, you need to use something like this because it's going to be a longer time frame, right? You're not just buying right now and selling in an hour. You're buying today and holding perhaps for a week or 2 and then selling at a higher point. But all the indicators are telling us that this is a bullish trend, bullish momentum. But wait for confirmation before you get in because this support line might break and it could become a resistance. If it does, we got a whole another game plan we need to figure out. But for now, I think it will hold just based on the overall momentum. It's no surprise that it's retracing back down because again, look at this, over 70. Right? We talked about that. It's going to come down based on the fact that the price action is considered to be overbought. Okay. Again, something to be mindful of. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 1 minute chart, because this really kind of helps us too. Again, you can kind of see the highlighted areas there. These were the support levels. This was a bad example, but this is a good one of where to take entry. And to further that, usually what I like to wait for on the 1 minute chart, if you're going to do a day trade, for example, obviously we want to ensure that the price is over the VWAP, right? That's bottom line. Always buy over VWAP. Never try to chase the bottom and find a price that's under VWAP, because it's considered to be oversold and you never truly know where the bottom is. But to find the bottom, you can use the EMA line to help you identify that, right? So if you look at these lines here, let's just take this current scenario right here. So if we're looking at this here, you see the EMA is above, or correction, the price is above EMA right here, all good, and the price goes below EMA right here. So in that scenario, when you see that, this is essentially a bearish trend. You never want to take entry because you're chasing the bottom here. And then what you do is you wait for confirmation above. In other words, this would be confirmation. Again, it's not a perfect exact science, but this is better. This is a confirmation level. In other words, we got 3 solid green bars closing above EMA. There's a likelihood of the price action coming back up. Now the reason why it didn't is because it came off here and it didn't bounce. In other words, we lost EMA. So you commonly want to wait for a second entry. In other words, this would be premature. So if you see these 3 green bars, you're like, oh, I want to get in, and you see these green bars over here on the right, don't get in, you wait. And you want to wait for the second time, because the fact that when you take entry prematurely, the price could continue to go down, right? So you want to wait until it bounces. Now let me show you an example of how it bounces. So right here, for example, say the price comes down and you want to take entry here. Don't do it. Continue to wait a little further. Still don't do it here, because obviously, simply put, that's not 3 solid green bars. But this right here is an example of the 3 green bars, right? So this could be a potential entry point, but you don't want to do that yet. At least I wouldn't, because I wait for it to test the EMA line twice. So this is the first testing here. Obviously it tests it, it's above. Second time it comes up, and look, it comes right back down. So if we see the price comes up and it comes down and it bounces right here. As soon as you see that bounce and the price holds, that's an entry point right there. So you take entry at this time. Again, people will always scoff at this and say, you could have got in a lot earlier and you could have got in at the bottom price. But no, that isn't how I work, because that's more risky, right? My risk tolerance is a 2-to-1 ratio at all times. So if I'm going to take entry here, I need to ensure that I have a potential loss of just say 1%, but a gain of 2%. Right? So I need to ensure that I have that. So if I mitigate my loss potential by taking entry when the momentum is shifted upwards, bullishly, the direction I'm heading, then I will have the opportunity to be able to benefit and get my 2-to-1 ratio. Again, I'm not 100%. This doesn't work every single time, but it increases your odds. And yes, you have slightly less earnings. Like that is a shorter time frame that I can take my profit. Like, I mean, that's not a huge profit target, right? Because you look at the percent here, right? From down here, say I took entry down here and came up here, that'd be like a 5.5% profit. That sounds great. But to me, I'd much really go with a sure shot and get only like a 2 or 3% profit, because of the fact that I was more conservative and I made sure to wait for confirmation. Yeah. So again, just a little something to help educate you there. That's what I like to do. I have a Patreon account as well. If you'd like to show your support in that channel, we actually talk openly about these things. And I'm going to actually have training videos too moving forward, so we can help educate you on the intricacies of how these things work, because they're situation based, right? It doesn't always work out this way, but for the most part, that's the common scenario. So feel free to, of course, communicate and reach out in that medium. That's the main thing I wanted to show you here, of course, just to kind of give you perspective on really what's going on, and some good examples, if you will. But all in all, sentiment here overall is bullish. I think we're in really good shape even still with the price coming back down. I think that it will likely test and reject and continue upwards from here. But if it does break, just keep in mind, if the price breaks below this support level, current support of 220, then we're going to see it perhaps stay below and then come down a little bit further. And at that time, you obviously wait for confirmation to wait for it to break above that new resistance level of 220. And again, wait for no less than two solid 15-minute green bars, or if you're day trading, 3 solid 1-minute green bars that are closing above EMA line, as well as the moving average and the VWAP. Simple, right? Make it sound so simple. Again, with practice makes perfect, right? You're not going to be perfect at this every day, but try to just take a little bit away from these videos at every time, right? So just if you can learn just a little bit every time, you're going to be good. Keep learning, keep being open, and the last thing I forgot to mention, I'm sorry, I usually try to preface this, is that when you take entry, you take positions, you take smaller positions. In other words, never go all in, okay? Unless you know that ADA is your only thing you want to invest in the rest of your life, never take a full position. So best example here is if you have $1,000 and you start with $1,000, if you're going to take entry in one of these points here, just say for example you're waiting for the support to bounce off and hold for 30 minutes, whatever you decide you want to do, only go in with 200 to 300 of that 1,000, right? Take a 20 to 30% position and wait for further confirmation before you add to your position. Again, smaller gains, there's no doubt about that. But this is not gambling, this is trading. If you treat it like gambling, the house is always going to win, right? They're going to win and you're going to lose. So if you treat it more so like, tactical performance and something that you can essentially master eventually, because again, it's not foolproof, but you can always increase the odds and swing the odds in your favor if you have a skill, a game plan together, and you have good temperament. You have to kind of set realistic expectations, and you got to be mindful of what you're doing, and don't let emotion jump into it. If you're having a bad day, don't trade. Okay, first of all. Again, I'll have more videos regarding that because I know that's an important thing that people need to learn: risk management and emotional tolerance of the stock market or coin market. It's all relative. So, either way, enough about my rambling here. I just want to make sure to highlight that. Don't take a full entry. Only take smaller positions. You will have less gains, but you'll have much lower losses, right? Because say you took a small position, and as you can see here, the price continues to go below the support level, and it breaks. You'd only be out, a small percent, right? But if you took a full position, you'd have to take that larger loss. So again, confirmation, add to your position. Confirmation, add to your position. If you lose confirmation, you withdraw your position, you take the small loss. It's perfectly normal to take a small loss. Literally, I take small losses every day, but I'm still profitable. I'm still in the green. Okay? Because again, risk management, 2-to-1 ratio, always shoot for 2-to-1 growth. But it does look here, just to quickly summarize, we might be losing support here at 220. So if that does break and stay below, be cautious, wait for confirmation above support, and see how the price reacts to the VWAP. If the price bounces off the volume weighted average price, then we're good, but just keep in mind we are under the EMA line right now and the current support. So there is a likelihood that it might continue to retrace a little bit further. And we'll see what happens. I don't think it's going to be terrible or detrimental, but I do think that, in fact, let me just mark this really quick. We've got because this was tested 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. So we got probably a secondary support at about 209. So keep in mind, if we lose the support up at 220, 209 will likely catch it and reverse it. Or it may work itself into this channel right here too, which would all be good things. Keep in mind, consolidation in this scenario is fantastic. We want to see it consolidate. We want to see the RSI drop down lower, so that way it can be considered oversold and we can get it at a good deal, good value. Like, I love to see when prices come down after retracement, because that's like my sweet spot. I love to wait and find that confirmation, find that that bounce back. That's the best time to buy. Never buy at the top. You see RSI over 70, pump the brakes. Okay, promise you, you'll thank me later. Okay, for now, that's all I've got. Thank you so much for joining me and listening to me ramble. And if you have comments, feel free to let me know below. What are your thoughts here? And if you'd like to support the channel, I got a Patreon account, as well as the fact we have an awesome Telegram community if you want to get engaged. But my Patreon does have a private Discord channel, so we can always communicate and collaborate and figure out some things there. Okay, just keep that in mind. But thank you so much for joining me here today. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.